Alex had always dreamed of being a diplomat. Growing up, he read stories about peaceful missions, solving problems between different species, and bringing unity to the galaxy. But nothing could prepare him for this. He had been selected for an NTAD, had been selected for an NTE. Important diplomatic mission to the homeworld of the Xantorians, a highly advanced alien species. They had invited humans to visit, but only a few people were chosen for such a rare honor. Alex had worked hard for this chance, studying Xantorian language and culture for months, hoping that one day he would get the chance to make his mark. The day had finally come. He stood in the grand hallway of the Xantorian palace, feeling small in the presence of towering stone columns and strange symbols glowing softly on the walls. The air smelled of unfamiliar flowers, and everything around him felt foreign, yet exciting. "Welcome, Alex," said the voice from behind him. He turned around to see a tall, elegant figure with golden skin and piercing eyes. She was a Xantorian, with her long flowing hair the color of silver moonlight. Her face was a mixture of beauty and power, the kind of beauty that demanded respect. She was Empress Zora, the ruler of the Xantorian Empire. "Your Excellency," Alex said, bowing respectfully, trying to remember the formal greeting he had practiced. He had worked hard to learn the Xantorian language, but his heart raced as he spoke the unfamiliar words. Zora's lips twitched into a smile. "Ah, you speak our language," she said, her voice like soft music. "But I must say, you are ... funny." "What did you mean by that word?" she asked, gently trying to understand what he had said. Alex blinked, confused. "I meant to say, it's an honor to meet you, Empress." Zora laughed, a sound like a breeze through the trees. "You said, it's an honor to be lost in a storm," she explained, "but it's still funny. You humans have such charm." Alex flushed with embarrassment. He had spent months learning their language, and now, in front of the most powerful ruler in the galaxy, he had made a simple mistake. But instead of looking upset, Zora's laughter was warm and inviting. It didn't feel mocking. It felt like she was truly enjoying his effort. "Sorry," Alex said quickly, his face turning red. "I've been studying the language, but it's so different. I'll get better." Zora smiled again, her eyes softening. "Do not worry, Alex," she said kindly. "Your effort is more than enough. You're a brave human, and that is what I like. You see, we Xantorians value courage above all. Even if you speak our language a little funny, you have come here, and that is enough." Alex felt a little better after hearing her words. Still, he couldn't shake the feeling that he had made a fool of himself. But Zora's presence was so commanding that he couldn't stay upset for long. She was so calm and confident, like a force of nature. There was something about her that made him feel both awed and relaxed at the same time. They walked through the palace together, Zora explaining the history of her people and the customs that Alex would need to know. The further they walked, the more Alex became captivated by the sheer beauty of the place. Xantorian architecture was nothing like anything on Earth. The palace was made of shimmering materials that seemed to change color with every step. The halls were filled with strange alien artworks that told stories Alex couldn't understand yet. Zora's laughter filled the halls every time. Alex made another mistake in her language. "Ah, you said I have no brain, instead of I am honored to serve you," she joked, her eyes sparkling with mischief. She didn't seem bothered by his errors at all, and her laughter was contagious. Alex couldn't help but laugh too, even though he was still embarrassed. As they continued to walk, Zora led Alex into a grand chamber. There, many high-ranking Xantorian officials were waiting, including military leaders, diplomats, and advisors. They all turned to look at him, and Alex felt a little nervous. He had read about the Xantorians' rich and complicated history, and now he was about to meet the people who held all that power. Everyone. "This is Alex," Zora said, her voice echoing through the chamber. "The human who has come to represent his people and share in our knowledge." Alex bowed again, this time with more confidence. He might not have been perfect in the language, but he was here, and that counted for something. Zora's smile encouraged him, and he straightened up. Ready to face this new challenge? Alex, it's an honor to meet you, one of the Xantorian officials said in a deep, rumbling voice. He extended a hand, and Alex shook it, still feeling a little out of place. Thank you, Alex said, trying to keep his voice steady. It's an honor to be here. Zora, who had been observing the interaction with a watchful eye, turned to the official. Do not be fooled by his language, my friend. This human might be funny in his speech, but he is serious in his heart, she said. The official nodded, smiling at Alex. It was strange, Alex thought. No one had ever spoken about him like that. Before, usually, people were too polite to mention his mistakes, especially when it came to his language skills. But Zora wasn't like anyone else. She wasn't interested in pretending things were perfect. She appreciated his humor, his imperfections, and his bravery. That night, as Alex lay in his quarters, he thought about the Empress's laughter. It wasn't just laughter at his mistakes. It was laughter that made him feel like part of something bigger. It made him feel welcome in this alien world. And maybe, just maybe, he could do more than just represent Earth. He could be a bridge between humans and Xantorians. Even if his first steps were a little funny. ChatGPT said, "Here's part 2 of your story. You're so funny." Human. The alien Empress laughed when I tried to speak her language. Written in simple and basic English, engaging and violated free. Part 2. Breaking the ice the next few days in. The Xantorian palace were a whirlwind for Alex. He woke up early each morning and worked late into the night, trying to understand the complexities of Xantorian culture. It wasn't just about learning the language anymore. It was about understanding the very essence of the Xantorians, their values, their history, and most importantly, the way they saw the universe. Everything was so different from Earth, yet so fascinating. Alex spent his mornings practicing the Xantorian language with his tutor, a quiet and patient Xantorian named Lyra. She was kind but firm, and she often had to remind Alex not to get discouraged by his mistakes. She would smile whenever he mispronounced a word or used the wrong tone, and every time she would say, "You will learn. It's all part of the process." But no matter how hard he tried, the words never came out the way he wanted them to. You say, "I love the stars," but you actually said, "I fear the stars," Lyra said gently, shaking her head. Alex sighed, rubbing his forehead. "I don't know how I keep doing this," he muttered. "I thought I was getting better." Lyra's smile never faded. "You are improving, Alex. It just takes time." Meanwhile, Empress Zora was always nearby, watching Alex's progress with curiosity and amusement. Whenever he would try to speak, she would laugh softly. But it was always a kind laugh, one that encouraged him rather than mocking him. "Humans are so charming with your mistakes," she'd say, her voice full of warmth. "But you try, and that's what matters most." One afternoon, Zora invited Alex to a private dinner in her chambers. It was a formal occasion, but the atmosphere was relaxed, with soft music playing in the background and a table full of colorful Xantorian dishes. The food was unlike anything Alex had ever seen. There were fruits that glowed in the dark, delicate, pastries made from strange plants, and a drink that fizzed and popped like a firework in a cup. As they sat down to eat, Alex couldn't help but notice how beautiful the palace was at night. The walls seemed to shimmer with a gentle light, reflecting the soft glow of distant stars. It felt peaceful, almost magical, yet Alex couldn't shake the nervousness in his chest. He had never been so far from home, and he still wasn't sure if he truly belonged here. "So, Alex," Zora said, breaking the silence as she picked up a piece of glowing fruit. "Tell me more about Earth. I've heard many things, but I want to hear from you." Alex hesitated for a moment, unsure of what to say. Earth felt so far away now, and his home seemed almost ordinary compared to the wonders of the Xantorian world. But he didn't want to disappoint Zora, so he spoke from the heart. "Well, Earth is ... a place of extremes. We have both beauty and danger. There are great cities and vast wild forests. We have mountains that touch the sky and oceans that are so deep no one has ever seen the bottom." Zora listened intently, her golden eyes gleaming with interest. "And what do you believe is the most important thing about Earth?" Alex thought for a moment. I think it's our ability to change. We don't always get things right, but we learn, we adapt, and we keep moving forward. Zora nodded thoughtfully. Fascinating perspective. I think I understand why you were chosen for this mission, Alex. You embody the spirit of adaptability. The conversation shifted to lighter topics after that. Zora shared stories of her own life, how she had become Empress at a young age, how her people had survived numerous wars, and how she had come to value humor as one of the most important qualities in her court. You see, Alex, Zora said, with a mischievous glint in her eye, we Xantorians believe that laughter can heal almost anything. It's a powerful tool, more than just an emotion. It can change the mood of a room, break down barriers, and even solve problems. Alex couldn't help but smile. I guess that's why you laugh every time I make a mistake. Zora chuckled, the sound like music in the air. Exactly. Your mistakes aren't failures, Alex. They are simply another way of teaching us something new. Her words struck Alex deeply. He had always seen his mistakes as embarrassing, but Zora's perspective made him realize that maybe he had been too hard on himself. Maybe it wasn't about being perfect. Maybe it was about trying, learning, and growing. For the rest of the evening, Alex felt more at ease. The food, the conversation, and Zora's infectious laughter made him forget his worries. Even though he couldn't speak her language perfectly, it didn't matter. They were connected in a way that transcended words. As the night came to an end, Zora stood up, her tall figure casting a long shadow on the floor. Thank you for joining me, Alex. I enjoy our talks. They are different from what I'm used to. Lex stood too, feeling a warmth spread through him. I've learned more from you in one evening than I could ever learn from a book. Zora smiled, her eyes sparkling. Then I look forward to many more evenings together. When Alex left Zora's chambers that night, he felt a sense of accomplishment. Not because he had mastered the language or solved any problems, but because he had made a real connection with someone from another world. For the first time since arriving on Xantar, Alex felt like he truly belonged. In Part 2, Alex's relationship with Empress Zora deepens. He starts to accept his mistakes, and the days pass quickly for Alex. With each passing moment, he learned more about the Xantorian Empire and its ways. He had long ago stopped worrying about his mistakes with the language. Zora's kindness and her constant encouragement made him feel at home in a place that once seemed so foreign. Even though he couldn't speak her language perfectly, they understood each other in ways that words couldn't express. One morning, Zora summoned Alex to her private chambers. He had been busy translating some ancient texts, trying to understand more about the Xantorian people's history. When her messenger arrived with the royal invitation, Alex had no idea what to expect, but he was eager to see Zora again. When he entered the room, Zora was standing near a large window, gazing out. At the planet below, the light from the twin suns bathed her in a golden glow, making her look even more regal and powerful. She turned when she heard Alex enter, and her face softened with a smile. Alex. I'm glad you're here, she said, her voice filled with both warmth and urgency. There is something important I must discuss with you. Alex raised a hand. Eyebrow, what's going on, Your Excellency? Zora motioned for him to sit. As Alex took a seat across from her, she looked more serious than usual. We face a threat, Alex. A great threat to our empire. The Varkin, a neighboring alien race, have begun making aggressive moves along our borders. We are on the edge of war. Alex leaned forward, his heart racing. He had heard of the Varkana, a brutal and ruthless species known for their warlike nature. The Varkana had destroyed entire worlds in their quest for expansion. If they attacked the Xantorians, there would be no mercy. What can I do to help? Alex asked, his voice steady but filled with concern. He had always dreamed of helping in times of crisis. But now that the danger was real, he wasn't sure what he could offer. Zora's eyes softened as she met his gaze. I need your help, Alex. The Varkin have sent a messenger to me, demanding that I surrender or face complete destruction. I do not want to start a war, but I cannot show weakness either. I need to send a message back, one that will make them understand that we will not bow to their threats. Alex sat quietly for a moment, processing what Zora had said. A war between two powerful empires would change the course of history. The entire galaxy would feel its effects. And yet Zora wasn't asking for a show of military power. She was asking for something different. Make the Varkan understand her people's strength without shedding blood. How can I help? Alex asked again, more firmly this time. Zora took a deep breath. There is an ancient text hidden in the royal archives. It contains a prophecy that, according to Xantorian legend, can be used to turn the tide of a battle. But it is written in a language so old that even my scholars have trouble understanding it. I need you to help me translate it. You've been studying our language and history, and I believe you are the one who can find the meaning behind it. Alex's heart sank. He knew the stakes were high, but he had never dealt with something so important.
I'm not sure I'm
ready for something like this. The language in these ancient texts is complex. It might take weeks, maybe months, to fully understand. Zora leaned forward, her gaze steady. I believe in you, Alex. You may not be a Xantorian scholar, but you have something they don't: your unique perspective. You've already proven that your determination and courage can break through barriers that seem impossible.
I need
that same spirit now. This is not just about words. It's about understanding the heart of my people. You're the right person for this. Alex felt the weight of her words. He wasn't a warrior, a general, or even a master of the Xantorian language, but he was determined to help. Couldn't let the Empire fall into chaos when there was something he could do to prevent it. The thought of the Varkan threatening Zora and her people stirred something deep inside him, a need to protect, to fight in whatever way he could. I'll do it, Alex said, his voice filled with resolve. I'll help you translate the text. We'll stop the war before it begins. Zora smiled, her face lighting up with gratitude. Thank you, Alex. I knew I could count on you. We will do this together. Over the next few days, Alex poured himself into the task. He spent long hours in the royal archives, surrounded by ancient scrolls and books filled with symbols and diagrams he had never seen before. The language was so old that even the most advanced Xantorian scholars couldn't fully understand it. But Alex didn't give up. With every failure, he found a new piece of the puzzle, a new clue that led him closer to understanding the meaning behind the prophecy as he worked. Zora checked in on him regularly, offering encouragement and guidance. She would often sit with him, sharing stories of her people's past and the lessons they had learned from their history. Slowly but surely, Alex began to uncover the meaning of the ancient text. The prophecy spoke of strength, unity, and the power of peace. It was a message that resonated deeply with him. One evening, as Alex was nearing the final translation, Zora stood behind him, her voice soft but filled with hope. What does it say, Alex? She asked, her heart in her eyes. Alex paused, looking at the last words of the prophecy. He felt a sense of accomplishment, but also a deep sense of responsibility. It says that the greatest strength is not in war, but in the ability to protect without fighting. It says that a true leader will know when to fight, but also when to show mercy. It speaks of a great peace that can only come through understanding. Zora's eyes shone with tears, her smile more radiant than ever. Then this is the message we will send. It's the peace we've always sought and the strength we've always had. With the prophecy in hand, Zora prepared to send her message to the Varkan. She would offer them a chance for peace, but only if they accepted the terms laid out in the ancient text. Alex had helped her find the words to end the war before it could start, and in doing so, he had proven that sometimes the greatest weapon is not one of destruction, but of wisdom. The days leading up to the delivery of the peace message were filled with both tension and hope. Zora had taken Alex's translation of the ancient text and sent it to the Varkan, inviting them to discuss peace.
Ow.
But in the quiet of her chambers, Alex could sense her worry. He had seen the fire in her eyes, the same fire that made her such a powerful leader, but it was now mixed with uncertainty. She had never faced a threat like this before. The fate of the Empire rested on her decision to either wage war or trust in the message of peace that Alex had helped her uncover. The Varkan had given no immediate response, and the silence weighed heavily on Zora. Each time she met with her advisors, the same question hung in the air. Would the Varkan accept? the peace offer, or would they reject it and begin a war that would tear everything apart? Alex had been working tirelessly, studying the Xantorian language more than ever. Even though he had done his best to understand their culture and history, there were still moments when he felt lost in the vastness of the Xantorian world. The language, so rich with meaning, often left him feeling like he was on the edge of a cliff, just a step away from fully understanding it. Lyra, his Xantorian tutor, noticed his struggle one afternoon. She watched him carefully as he studied an old scroll, his face furrowed in concentration. "Alex, you are trying too hard," Lyra said gently, placing a hand on his shoulder. "You've made great progress, but you cannot force understanding. The language will come to you when you are ready. You must trust the process." Alex sighed, rubbing his temples. "I know, but it's just so frustrating. I feel like I'm so close, yet I keep missing something. I'm afraid that if I don't get it right, the whole mission could fail." Lyra smiled softly. "The Xantorians value persistence. Do not need to be perfect, Alex. The fact that you are trying and learning means more to us than any perfect translation. Your heart is in the right place, but what if it's not enough?" Alex asked, looking up at her with uncertainty. "What if this peace offer isn't enough to stop the war? What if the Varkan don't care about what we've sent them?" Lyra's expression grew serious for a moment. "Cannot control the actions of others, Alex. All you can control is your own heart. And from what I have seen, you have a very strong heart." Alex appreciated her words, but he still couldn't shake the feeling that time was running out. He had come to care for the Xantorians, especially Zora. They were a people with a rich history, and he had seen how much they valued peace. He didn't want to see them suffer, and the thought of war breaking out because of one small misunderstanding made him anxious. Later that evening, Zora called him to her private quarters once again. When Alex arrived, he found her standing by the window, looking out over the city. The view was breathtaking. The vast sky stretched above, dotted with stars, and the glow from the twin suns lit up the landscape in a soft golden hue. But despite the beauty around her, Zora seemed troubled, her expression distant. "Alex," she said, turning to face him, "I'm starting to doubt the message we sent. What if it wasn't enough? What if I made a mistake, offering peace when the Varkan will only understand force?" Alex stepped forward, his heart heavy with the weight of the moment. He had come to admire Zora for her strength, but he could see that even the bravest leaders had their doubts. "You did the right thing," Alex said quietly. "You gave them a chance for peace. That's all we can do. Can't control what happens next, but we can be proud that we tried." Zora looked at him with gratitude in her eyes, but the doubt still lingered. "I have led my people through many battles, Alex. I have fought for what's mine. But this... this feels different. This isn't about territory or power. This is about saving lives, about preventing a war that could destroy everything we've built." Alex understood her fear. War wasn't something any ruler wanted to face, but sometimes it seemed unavoidable. The Varkan were a brutal race known for their ruthless tactics and their thirst for conquest. The idea that they could be swayed by a message of peace seemed almost impossible. Yet Alex knew that sometimes the impossible was exactly what was needed. "You don't have to do this alone," Alex said, his voice firm with determination. "I'm with you, Zora. Whatever happens next, we'll face it together." Eyes softened, and for a brief moment, Alex saw a flicker of hope in her expression. "Thank you, Alex. Your presence here gives me strength." Just as the weight of the conversation seemed to settle around them, a loud knock interrupted the silence. The doors to Zora's chambers opened, and one of her advisors entered, his face grim. "Your Excellency," the advisor said, bowing low. "We've received a response from the Varkan." Alex felt his heart skip a beat. He had been waiting for this moment, and now it had arrived. Zora's expression hardened, and she motioned for the advisor to continue. The advisor handed Zora a small device, which she activated with a flick of her wrist. The screen came to life, showing the face of a Varkan diplomat. The Varkan's face was angular, cold, with sharp features that radiated power. His voice was deep and stern. "We have received your message, Empress Zora," the Varkan said. While we do not accept your terms for peace, we are willing to negotiate. The time for words is ending. We'll meet you at the border. Prepare for the consequences of your actions." The message ended abruptly and the room fell silent. Alex could feel the tension in the air. The Varkan had rejected the peace offer, but they hadn't declared war outright. The situation was delicate, and Zora knew that this would be the most important moment of her reign. She could either face the Varkan head-on or find another way to stop the conflict. Zora stood tall, her face resolute. "We'll meet them at the border," she said, her voice unwavering. "But we will not fight unless we must." Alex nodded. He had helped Zora bring peace to the Xantorians, but now they both faced a choice. Would they continue to fight for peace, or would the Varkan force them into war? The atmosphere in the Xantorian palace had changed since the Varkan's message. What had once been a place of hope and calm was now filled with a sense of tension. Zora moved with a quiet strength, but even she couldn't hide the worry in her eyes. The future of her people was on the line, and despite the message of peace, Alex had helped her translate. The Varkan had made it clear they weren't willing to negotiate easily. Alex spent his days in the palace archives, working with Zora and her scholars to find a way to resolve the growing conflict. They had studied ancient texts, prophecies, and old accounts of Xantorian wars, hoping to find anything that could help them avoid the bloodshed. But each answer seemed to lead them back to one inevitable truth: the Varkan wouldn't back down unless they were given a show of strength. Zora had always known that leading her people would be difficult, but this felt different. The weight of her decisions hung heavy on her shoulders. She couldn't afford to lose her people, her empire. And yet deep down, Zora refused to believe that war was the only option. There had to be another way. She trusted Alex, but even he was starting to feel the pressure. One evening, as they sat together in her chambers, surrounded by scrolls and data screens, Zora looked at Alex with a mixture of gratitude and worry. "Alex," she began softly, her voice quieter than usual, "you've helped me more than you know. But I'm afraid we are running out of time. The Varkan are coming to the border tomorrow. We must prepare for whatever they may bring." Alex looked at her, trying to meet her gaze. He could see the strength in her eyes, but also the doubt that lingered. "Zora, you don't have to do this alone. We've come this far together. We just need to give it a little more time. We might still be able to stop them." She smiled gently, but it was a sad smile. "I've been fighting wars for so long, Alex. Sometimes I wonder if peace is really possible. You see things differently, don't you? You see, beyond the walls I've built to protect my people." Alex didn't know how to respond. He had always believed in the power of words, the strength of understanding, but he knew that facing the Varkan was no easy task. He had grown close to Zora, and in her, he had seen not just a ruler, but a person struggling to find a path forward. She was more than just an empress. She was someone who cared deeply about her people, their history, and their future. "I don't think I'm the one who sees beyond the walls," Alex said slowly. "I think you do. You've spent your life fighting for your people, and now you're trying to find another way. That takes more strength than anything." Zora looked at him, her expression softening. "You've always seen the good in people, Alex. I think that's why I've come to trust you so much. You remind me that there is always another way." They sat in silence for a moment, the weight of their situation pressing in. Alex thought about all the things he had learned during his time on Xantor about Zora, about the Xantorians, and about himself. It wasn't just the language that had brought them together. It was the way they both believed in something greater than just survival. They both wanted peace, even if it meant fighting against everything they had known. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door, and one of Zora's advisors entered, his face pale. "Your Excellency," the advisor said urgently, "the Varkan fleet has arrived at the border. They're preparing to move forward. We have no choice but to act now." Zora's expression hardened. The moment they had feared was here. Alex could see the weight of the decision in her eyes, but he also saw a spark of determination. "I'll go with you," Alex said quickly. "I'll help in whatever way I can." Zora looked at him, surprised by his offer. "Alex, you've already done more than enough. This is not your fight." "It is now," he replied firmly. "We're in this together." The two of them made their way to the war room, where Zora's generals and advisors were already gathered. The atmosphere was tense, the room filled with whispers and the clattering of screens. Maps of the border were displayed on the walls, showing the movement of the Varkhan fleet. Zora's advisors were already making plans for battle, discussing their strategies. But Zora wasn't listening. She stood at the center of the room, her eyes scanning the data in front of her. Alex could tell she was trying to make sense of everything. "Zora, there's still time," Alex said, stepping closer. "We don't have to fight. If you can speak to their leader, maybe you can convince them to talk, to find a way to avoid this." Zora glanced at him, a mixture of disbelief and hope in her eyes. "Do you really think they will listen? After everything they've done?" Alex nodded. "I think we have one last chance to make them see reason. We can't do it with force. We have to show them that we don't want war, that we're willing to listen." Zora's gaze softened, and for the first time in a long while, she looked uncertain. "I've never tried this before, Alex. I've always known how to fight. But peace, ... that's a different battle." Alex smiled. "And we're both in it together." Zora looked at him for a moment, and then, without another word, she turned to her advisors and gave the order. "Prepare the ship for the meeting," she said, her voice strong once again. "We will try one last time, if we are to stop this. War, we must do it with our words, not our weapons." As they left the war room together, Alex couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. It wasn't the way he had imagined things going, but it felt right. Zora was willing to take a chance on peace, and Alex was right beside her. The Varkhan fleet was waiting at the border. Zora was ready to face them not with an army, but with an open hand. She had spent her life leading her people through wars, but now she would lead them into a new kind of battle, the battle for peace. The tension was unbearable as Alex stood beside Zora on the bridge of her ship. The Varkhan fleet loomed in the distance, their massive ships dark against the starry sky. For the first time since arriving on Xantar, Alex felt the full weight of the moment. Zora, usually so calm and composed, stood next to him, her face stern but her eyes searching the horizon. The meeting with the Varkhan was their last chance for peace, and neither of them knew what would happen next. As the ship moved closer to the border, Alex could feel the unease among the crew, who were prepared for battle, their weapons primed, their shields up, but Zora had made it clear today would not be about fighting. Today would be about talking, about showing the Varkhan that there was another way. But as the Varkhan ships grew larger, Alex couldn't help but wonder if they would even listen. "You're nervous," Zora said, noticing the frown on Alex's face. Alex glanced at her, startled. "I didn't think I was that obvious." Zora's lips curved into a small smile. "Humans are easy to read when they're nervous. But you've done more than most would ever be able to. This is the final test, Alex." Alex took a deep breath. I know. But I still don't feel ready. What if they don't listen to you? What if they just attack?" "They will listen," Zora said confidently, her eyes steady. "We are offering them peace, and if they refuse, then we will fight. But not before. That is the Xantorian way." They arrived at the Varkhan fleet, and the massive ships loomed above them, casting shadows over the entire battlefield. Zora's ship sent a signal to the lead Varkhan ship, requesting a peaceful meeting. The reply came almost immediately, and the cold, angular face of the Varkhan diplomat appeared on the screen in front of them. His sharp features gave nothing away, but his eyes were filled with disdain. "Empress Zora," the Varkhan diplomat said, his voice harsh. "You are brave to come here, but we do not negotiate with weakness. Your empire's offer of peace is amusing, but we are not here to talk." Zora stood tall, her expression unwavering. "We are here to talk because we do not wish for bloodshed. The offer is peace. If you choose war, it will be on your terms, not ours." The Varkhan diplomat sneered. "You believe your words will change us? You are foolish to think we will back down. You will regret this, Empress." Zora took a deep breath, her calmness a sharp contrast to the Varkhan's anger. "It is not weakness to seek peace. It is strength, if you believe you can take this." Empire by force. You are mistaken. We will fight if necessary, but we would rather work together. Your people and mine can build something stronger than war. The Varkhan diplomat's eyes narrowed. You speak of strength, but you are alone. In this, your people are weak. Zora's voice was firm, and Alex could see the fire burning within her. Then let us see how strong we are. You may think you understand strength, but you have never faced a united empire. We stand together, and if you attack us, you will face the full force of that unity. For a moment, there was silence. Alex could feel the tension building. Varkhan diplomat's gaze never wavered, but something in his eyes seemed to shift, a flicker of doubt perhaps. Zora had spoken with such certainty that it had shaken him, even if he didn't want to admit it. The diplomat finally spoke again, his voice colder now. You are brave, Empress Zora, but you will fail. You will not be intimidated by your empty words. Zora didn't back down. Then we will see who is right. The battle will be fought in our hearts, not in our ships. But remember this, if you want to destroy us, you will have to destroy all that we stand for. And that is something you will not take easily. The Varkhan diplomat paused, his expression unreadable. We will meet you on the battlefield, he said finally, his voice like a dark promise. But remember, Empress, this is not over. The screen went black, and the Varkhan ships remained in place, their weapons ready.
Ow.
Zora turned to Alex, her eyes filled with determination. We have done all we can. Now we wait.
Alex stood.
Beside her, unsure of what to expect next, as the waiting was the hardest part. He had never been in a situation like this, where one decision could change the fate of millions. But in that moment, he realized something important. He wasn't alone. Zora wasn't alone. They were fighting for something bigger than themselves. And then, to everyone's surprise, a message appeared on their screen. It wasn't from the Varkhan diplomat, but from one of the Varkhan commanders. The message was short and blunt. Empress Zora, the voice said, you have one? We were wrong to underestimate your people. You will stand down. Alex blinked, not sure if he had heard correctly. Zora looked at the screen, her face a mixture of disbelief and relief. What? What is this? The Varkhan commander continued. We were testing you. Your strength was real, and your words, they have meaning. We will not attack. The war is over. There was a moment of stunned silence before the room erupted in cheers. The crew of Zora's ship celebrated, relieved that the threat had passed. Zora turned to Alex, her face filled with surprise and a rare softness. You did it, Alex, she said, her voice warm with admiration. You helped us find peace. Alex felt a weight lift off his shoulders, but there was something else, a feeling of pride. He had played a small part in something huge, something that would change the course of history for both the Xantorians and the Varkhan. We did it, Alex said with a smile. Together, Zora smiled back, her eyes shining. Yes, together. And that's what makes us strong. As the Varkhan ships began to retreat, the crew continued to celebrate. The peace that had once seemed impossible was now a reality. The war had been avoided, and a new path forward had been carved, not through force, but through understanding and unity in the end. Alex realized that the greatest strength wasn't in fighting or winning, it was in the courage to try, to believe in something better, and to never give up, even when the odds seemed impossible. And he had done it with the Empress by his side.